Thanks so much. Thrilled to be here today. Hope you guys are having a great conference, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. We're going to talk about goals and goal setting today, and my goal is really, really simple. I want to equip you and give you some great ideas that hopefully you can use to take your personal life and your sales life to places that you never thought possible. I always like to start with something funny. As we're talking about goals, there were these 4 golfing buddies. And they were out golfing together, and they prided themselves. They were really proud of the fact that their 4 boys had grown off and gone on to do great things. All throughout their lives, these 4 golfing buddies had really focused in on goals and helping their boys set goals for themselves. So they got to the 9th hole and were getting ready to make the turn to go towards the back 9 of the golf course, and 3 buddies were standing on the tee box, and one of the fellas, he excused himself to go use the men's room. Well, the 3 buddies that were standing there started talking amongst themselves about how proud they were of their 3 sons. The one gentleman said, "I'm so proud of my son. He's achieved all of his life goals. He's so good in real estate that last week he actually gave one of his friends a house." "Wow," the other 2 guys said. Well, the next gentleman standing there in that little threesome said, "I'm very, very proud of my son as well. He now owns the largest Mercedes dealership in America. And last week, he actually gave one of his friends a Mercedes for absolutely free." Well, the 3rd guy standing there, not to be outdone, he said, "I'm so proud of my son. He's a stockbroker, and he did such a good job and had such a great year achieving his goals that last week, he actually gave one of his friends an entire stock portfolio." Well, the 4th gentleman, the 4th buddy that had excused himself to use the men's room, walks up to the tee box. He says, "Hey, what are you guys talking about?" "Oh, we just were reminiscing about how proud we are of our 3 sons. Oh, by the way, what is your son up to these days?" He says, "Well, actually, he is an exotic dancer in Las Vegas." And they all looked and said, "Exotic dancer in Las Vegas? Wow, we are just kind of all surprised. Are you proud of him?" He said, "Well, at first, I was just a little bit taken aback by the whole exotic dancing thing. And then last week, he came back to visit us from work, and he said he had a great week. And I said, what happened? I'm really proud of you. What happened?" He said, "Well, one of my customers gave me a Mercedes, one of my customers gave me a house, and one of my customers gave me a stock portfolio." Goal setting as well. All right, let's talk about your goals. Were you aware that 76% of people that make a New Year's resolution on January 1st will fail at that New Year's resolution by approximately the 28th? So within 26 to 28 days, after you make a goal or a New Year's resolution, the vast majority of you in this room will fail at accomplishing that goal. So why is that? Why do more people not achieve the goals they set out for? I think I've somewhat found the answer, and I've tried to adopt these 6 principles into my life, but I want you not to be a statistic. If you had a takeaway today from our talk together, I want you to not be a statistic. I want you to take these 6 things, write them down, put them into action, because I think you're going to find that you're going to have a great chance at achieving your goals. All right, so goal setting idea number 1. Write this down. Set keystone habits first. So goal setting idea number 1 is setting keystone habits first. Now, in order to understand what a keystone habit is, I think it's important for us to start out by you understanding what a keystone actually is. Now, from this point forward, every time that you see an arch made of stone, you'll recognize the center stone in the middle, which is often wedge-shaped, and very often, almost always, is the last stone that's put in place by a mason or a construction worker or whatever the circumstance is. Now, what you may not realize in looking at this, the keystone is actually the most important stone in that arch, the most important stone. What's happening is all the pressure of all of these stones is actually sitting on one stone right there in the center. And when that keystone is dropped in, that keystone holds that arch together. And when masons put it in correctly, that arch will stand for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So when I give you the idea of setting your keystone habit first, What I'm talking about is understanding what are the most important habits that you need to have before you can even begin to think about goal setting. Let me give you an example. Personal keystones might be for you, you need 7 to 10 hours of sleep. According to the Mayo Clinic and sleep experts there, they'll tell you that the average American needs somewhere between 7 and 10 hours of sleep. But every single one of you in this room is different. I know some people, they only need 5 hours. That's all they need. That's how their physiology, that's how their body is built. That's how God made them. Now me, give me 10 hours, and I'm telling you what, I'm rocking. You give me 7 hours, I need another 2. All right, I need my beauty rest. I love my sleep. So before people set physical fitness goals, one of the keystone habits would be sleep, just as a personal example. So that might be a personal habit. All right, now let's talk about your sales lives, because all of us are in the sales business. If your goal is to grow your commission by 25% this year, a keystone habit is going to be, for example, having an amazing prospecting process. Setting that goal is one thing, but you may need to have keystone habits, important foundational habits in place. So, as an example, you might need a prospecting process. Maybe you need a better CRM tool. Or for some of you in this room that I've heard, you actually need to use your CRM tool, all right? So that's a keystone habit. So when you go to set bigger goals, you need to understand that there's keystone habits in your personal and professional life that you probably need to have in place to achieve that much bigger goal. So we're going to talk about those keystone habits as well. But it's important for you to recognize whether it's a keystone or it's a cornerstone, there's foundational elements that you have to have in place before you can achieve your greater goals. Now, what's interesting is each one of us is different, all right? Okay, idea number 2. So we've got the keystones, you've written that down. Or if you want to do cornerstones, that's fine. Foundational elements. Number 2 is identifying the why in the goals that you set. So there's 3 components, if you will, to all goals that you're going to set. What you're going to do, that's the what. So jot that down. There's 3 things here. What you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and what almost everybody forgets is why. Why are you doing it? The why is what's inside of you. It's what's inside of me. See, I can declare any goal. I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Okay, I can declare that. How am I going to do it? I really don't know, okay? The big question is why? Why are you going to do it? See, I can declare any goal. I can declare any goal for you. I can tell you how to do it. What I can't control is why you are doing that. So as an example, let's go back to your sales commission. So if you say to me, sir, I want to grow my commission 25%. How does that sound? Good? All right. 2 thumbs up. And your boss gave a thumbs up too. 2 thumbs up. Okay, you want to grow your commission 25%. Okay, that is the what. That's the what. Now, the how you're going to do it, those are going to be the mini goals that you're going to set. I'm going to talk about mini goals in a second. But the third piece of that everyone tends to overlook is why. Why am I doing this? So your reasons might be, and I'm making these up, your reasons might be, I want to drive a Mercedes-Benz. I want to send my kid to private school. I want to go on a fabulous cruise this summer with my family. That's the why. So everyone talks about declaring the goal, saying it, and declaring it, and putting it out there for everybody. We talk about the how. That's all the training videos that I do, the ones that some of you have watched online. That's the how you're going to do it, the nuts and the bolts. What most people don't talk about is the why, and I believe that's the third, but definitely not the third component. It's the most important component of the goal-setting process, is understanding why. So you want to declare why as well. So in your cubicle, in your office, in your car, whatever the circumstance is, you want to print out a picture of that cruise ship that you're going to take your family on. You want to go down to the dealership, take a picture of that sticker on that window of that car that you want to drive because you've achieved your sales goals. Maybe there's a charity that you want to help. So print out the logo of that charity or put yourself a little thermometer goal with that charity's name at the top. You're going to donate $5,000 to the local food bank or whatever the circumstance is. Visualization is awesome. and it's something that everybody really kind of understands. For me, the why piece of it, put it in front of you and make sure that it's a very important part of your daily life. Now, I don't know that anybody besides me in this room has ever seen this tombstone. Look at it closely. You'll notice that there's two people that are buried at this location. I'll give you a clue. The location is in New Mexico, Fort Sumner, New Mexico. The name on the one side is Tom O'Fallard. He died in 1880. And the name on the right side is William H. Bonney. Anybody recognize that name? That's the name of Billy the Kid. This is the gravestone and a picture that I took of the gravestone where Billy the Kid is buried. So why? Why did I take the picture and why was I there? At a point in my life, I was working for several television companies, and so I had decided that I was a producer on one of the shows, and there's a guy, an old cowboy, his name is Craig Cameron, and Craig decided that he was going to ride his horse on the trail that Billy the Kid rode from when he escaped in Lincoln, New Mexico, all the way to Fort Sumner, New Mexico. Now, granted, this happened in the 1800s, so obviously they weren't driving around in cars, and William H. Bonney, Billy the Kid, was riding his horse, and he was riding at a pretty fast rate of speed because he has just killed one of Sheriff Brady's deputies in Lincoln, New Mexico. So after killing the deputy, William H. Bonney steals a horse and takes off out of the town of Lincoln, New Mexico. Now, I pulled this up on Google Maps as we began to prepare for Craig's adventure because I was going to be a part of the crew to film and produce this adventure. So I started looking and realized if we followed the roads, so our goal was Fort Sumner, there in the top right. We were in Lincoln, New Mexico. So if you were to drive this in today's cars, okay, that would be 139 miles by road. It's going to take 2 hours and 10 minutes in a car going 65 miles an hour. So I started thinking about this a little bit further. How are we going to make this into a TV show? It's going to take 2.5 hours to drive there. And I thought, well, basically, a horse can go about as fast as a bike, basically. Maybe a little faster if they're running. So if we were to do this and maybe take sort of a back road, we could get there in about 11 hours and 6 minutes. So all of a sudden, it's getting worse and worse, this whole idea. We weren't really clear on the why of this goal, as you can see. And then I thought, what if we walked? If we walked it, how long would it take? It was going to be 140 miles if we went across country. And it's still 140 miles. It's going to take us 45 hours. So what's the moral to this story? Did we complete this adventure on horseback? We did, and he took various horses, and we followed him in a truck and trailer. He's the only cowboy since Billy the Kid that's ever rode that trail. But there was one thing that we really weren't clear on when we set out to achieve this goal. It was the why. So I asked myself later, why did we do this? And I think the why was because we thought it was going to be really, really cool. It ended up taking us several days to complete this adventure. It was a ton of fun, and I loved being a part of history. We weren't clear on the why, and so because of that, it took us a heck of a lot longer than it needed to, and it took us a lot more money than it needed to cost. We just weren't clear on the why. So when you think about goal setting, and you're thinking about the why, remember the trip that I took, 140-some miles on horseback, to film this cowboy riding the trail of Billy the Kid. Had we identified the why, maybe we wouldn't have done it, but still, it was a ton of fun. All right, goal setting idea number 3. So we've set our keystones in place. We've identified the why. Now we're on idea number 3. And idea number 3 is plan for the year. Don't plan for January. Plan for the year. Don't just plan for January. And this is all about timing. See, what happens is most people, when they set goals on January 1st, they actually don't give themselves enough time to complete those goals. And it's one of the main reasons that people fail. So one of the best pieces of advice that I can give you is to think about buying some type of wall calendar. And you can buy these at your Office Depot or Staples or whatever it is. And then in your office or your cubicle or at home or whatever the circumstance is, you're going to take this calendar and you're going to put it on the wall. And these calendars come in all different shapes and sizes. Now, I love this goal-setting calendar here because you'll notice that it's got little lines. It's got all these mini goals, if you will, or projects on each one of these. And I love that. I think that's a great idea. We're going to talk about mini goals in a second. But what's happening is this person is basically laying out their life. They're basically laying out their life over the course of a year. And what they're doing is they're blocking out their goals in a realistic manner. See, it's